I seriously can't get over how punny the name of this vlog is, you guys. It's so good. Let's just get right into it. A big thing going on in the world right now is a really big refugee and migrant crisis in the EU, the European Union. Recently, there's been a lot of refugees and migrants leaving their home countries in the Mideast and Africa because there's been really hard living conditions there recently. Think ISIS, think bad economies, think a really terrible, brutal civil war going on in Syria. So a lot of those people are trying to flee to the EU to get better opportunities for themselves and to start a new life. And so there's just been so many migrants and refugees that the EU has had to sit down, all the leaders have had to try to figure out a way to deal with the crisis. And so a lot of countries in the EU are preparing right now to take in a lot of refugees and migrants from these countries, but it's been kind of controversial because some countries like Hungary and Greece are not agreeing to take in these refugees, and there's just so many of them that a lot of the countries are struggling to find ways to provide for these refugees when they come in. But we have a lot of outside countries, aka the US, trying to get involved and help take in some refugees. So the US has prepared to take in 10,000 Syrian refugees. So we'll see how that works out because there's expected to be over 800,000 refugees within the next year. So a lot of countries are going to have to try to prepare for how they're going to deal with that. And so that's been a big topic that the EU has been trying to work through recently. The next big thing that just recently happened was that the Australia Prime Minister, Tony Abbott, was replaced. Tony Abbott has been the Prime Minister of Australia for about 2 years now, and a lot of Aussies don't really like him. They don't like his stance on same-sex marriage, which he does not support. They don't like how he doesn't think climate change does not exist, and that's just a couple of the main reasons why they have a problem with him. But also, the Australian economy has not been very good recently. You could say it's gone down under. But yeah, a lot of Australians are concerned about how Tony Abbott would deal with a recession, if that's a possibility. And so a lot of lawmakers just decided that this other guy called Malcolm Turnbull would be a better prime minister than Tony Abbott. So Malcolm Turnbull was elected as prime minister and replaced Tony Abbott, and it's to be determined how that will work out for the Australians, but that's a pretty big deal for them. Another big thing that's been going on in the US is talk of an Iran deal that President Obama has been trying to push. This is one of his big legacy things that he wants to get accomplished before he leaves office. And so basically what this Iran deal is it's a nuclear deal trying to take precautions to prevent Iran from creating nuclear weapons and using nuclear weapons. And so he's been trying really hard to push this, and a lot of the Democrats are in support of this, and they have been voting for this, but a lot of congressional Republicans and Republicans in general are against this Iran deal because they believe that it's not hard enough and that it needs to be revised and needs to be toughened up before we can put it into place. And so there's just been a lot of back and forth on that. You hear a lot of the presidential candidates for 2016 bringing up this Iran deal. President Obama is really trying to persuade Americans and the House and the Senate to gain support of this. and we'll just see how it works out. For now, I think it's pretty much going to remain the same, and a lot of Republicans are still in opposition of it, but a lot of Democrats are in support, and they're on Obama's side, and that's it for now. We'll see what happens. Okay, so that's just a couple little rundowns of things that's been happening in the world and in our country recently. Obviously, there's always way more going on than just these 3 things I mentioned, and I encourage you to check these things out. Always be watching the news, always be looking at news websites. If you have any questions about any of these topics or comments or concerns, comment on this video and let me know. And as always, feel free to give your feedback.